Yes, yes, this is Mr. Controversy, and this is the infamous three-point conversion station. Keep it locked.
From coast to coast, representing all of the Dog Pound Nation, this is the BrownsTown podcast. I'm Eric, and over there is LA. LA, take the lead!
What's going on today, Browns fans? We are here celebrating a Browns win. Woo! And that's right. The Browns were able to come away victorious last night with their preseason game. We are going to dive into that with a bunch of analysis, break it down for you, give you grades. A lot of you guys out there went to our Twitter, which, by the way, is at BrownsTown USA on Twitter. Follow us there. Put up a poll last night asking how you guys felt about the game. Got a lot of positive feedback, so we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into, of course, Hard Knocks. My goodness, what an episode. We have, of course, the Corey Coleman trade. We're going to talk about that a little bit more because it happened a little bit after our last talk that we had. We have Antonio Callaway information, and then, of course, Dez Bryant. Wow. So, before we hop into all of that, we just want to take a pause for the cause and say that this is BrownsTown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. Make sure you hop over to 3pointconversion.com. to catch a lot of me and Eric's work. We're covering the Browns, writing for you. And then also any other team that you want to catch up on, podcast galore. Oh, by the way, Eric, our podcast page is up on the website now.
Sweet.
So yeah, absolutely. So if people want to go to the 3pointconversion.com, if they missed out, they can go there and click on shows, and we're right there, and you can catch every single episode. Of course, you can follow us on Spreaker, and then we are working to get on Apple iTunes and all your other major podcast outlets as well, man.
It feels good to be out there, and honestly, go support the cause, guys. Come on. You know you love us. You know you love some of the other shows. Come on. Come on.
Do it. As they say, do it. Just do it.
Okay,
all right, man. So, let's take a look around the AFC North. We got to, unfortunately, still address and keep an eye on those other teams out there, see what they're doing. So, pretty much everybody in the AFC North won last night. The Steelers just took out the Eagles 31-14. The Bengals won their first game as well, taking out the Bears 30-27. And then we wrap up and have the Ravens just absolutely smashing the Rams 33-7. I know with this game here, everybody wanted to keep an eye and look at Lamar Jackson. It looks like he tossed 119 yards, no touchdowns, but they looked pretty strong from what I was hearing. Did you hear anything about that one, or?
The thing that I heard was that Lamar Jackson didn't look bad. I mean, 119 yards is nothing to snicker at. I mean, it's not as good as what we're going to get to later, but that's still a solid performance. But even more shocking, how about the fact that Brashad Perryman actually showed up?
Yes.
I mean,
that's crazy. The Ravens, to me, is going to be a question mark as far as what to keep an eye out on them for, because at first I know when we were evaluating them, and a lot of people were evaluating them, trending down this year, big part because of Joe Flacco and everything, because he's very inconsistent. We don't know what Joe Flacco will show up, but we know that he has the potential to be one of those, I would say, top 15 type quarterbacks, but we broke down the position. We talked about their receiver group. They're actually a little bit better than what I was projecting them to be. So the Ravens will be very interesting, especially to see how they use Lamar. I know they want him on the field. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just as long as they don't do like what the Jets did with Tim Tebow, they'll be all right. I mean, Lamar Jackson does have a future in this league, I believe. I mean, I don't know if the Ravens were the right choice for him, just given the division, but at the same time, Lamar Jackson does have a bright future. And you know what? For all we know, we could see the future of the AFC North coming from two teams that were once in Cleveland.
Yes, and I believe, I forgot who was talking about it, but there was another big person talking about it, saying that we have the potential to see the AFC North turn into a Lamar Jackson versus Baker Mayfield type division. And I know for a lot of people out there, that would be exciting. To me, I didn't want Lamar in this division. I really liked him as a QB, and I was just like, man, draft him anywhere else but the AFC North. And of course, he's in the AFC North, and of course, he's with the Ratbirds. Well, not with the Ratbirds. I'm sorry, that's Atlanta's nickname, but he's with the Dirty Birds or whatever the heck they call it.
No, you got it backwards. Dirty Birds is Atlanta.
Okay, so they are the Ratbirds. Okay.
Yeah, they're the Rats with wings.
Cool. Yeah, I don't like them, so I mean, whatever.
I mean, if you're a Browns fan, that actually reminds me. I had a buddy that asked me why I thought the Ravens were the most hated team, like out of our rivals. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? What? I thought it'd be the Steelers." No, there's a reason why we hate the Ravens. Why? Really?
Yeah, that is true. And crazy enough, real quick before we transition to the next topic, me and I know that you gave us a tremendous shout-out last week on the show when you were flying a solo. Great job, and kudos, by the way.
Thank you.
But, you know, when we were covering the Hall of Fame game, we sat down, we went to a breakfast spot, me and Raphael Haynes, the owner of the 3-Point Conversion, and we had a talk with a lady, and she is actually from Baltimore, and she was coming up to support Ray Lewis. And we actually, you know, some people that you talk to in the general public, especially when we get to a point where we're so in depth in sports, that I don't know about you, but it's not always enjoyable to talk like to a casual fan about sports, because I hate to say it, and I don't want to be arrogant or anything like that, because everybody has different knowledge levels, but sometimes you talk to that occasional bonehead, and you're just like, dude, I'm not about to talk to you about sports anymore ever again. Mm-hmm. But with her, she was very knowledgeable. She was a Ravens fan, been a Ravens fan for a long time, and she was actually a Browns fan at first before they left. And she kind of went through and talked about the whole transition. And her point of view was that, you know, she had no hard feelings, that, you know, we got to keep the colors, we got to keep the records. You know, our history was still intact compared to how the Baltimore Colts left and went to Indianapolis, and they took everything with them. And, you know, so when I heard her explain it like that, I said, okay, you know, I can probably feel a little bit better, but still at the end of the day, you guys got a Super Bowl, we don't. It's still going to be some type of animosity there.
Oh, absolutely.
But you made me feel a little bit better explaining it from that point.
Like, from that point of view, it makes sense. I mean, Browns fans, let's be honest, we're bitter people. So, I mean, it's a shame, but we're bitter because, quite frankly, we should have 2 Super Bowls by now. We should have several Hall of Famers, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I can respect the Ravens a little bit. Do I hate them? Absolutely, but at the same time, I'm not going to go ahead and knock them. I mean, I'm not going to knock them for what happened, because the fact of the matter was, this was Modell's decision ultimately. It wasn't ours. It wasn't the city's. It was on him. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Now, we're going to transition into some Corey Coleman talk. Like I said, we're going to just brush over it real quick because it's pretty much old news now, but we didn't have a chance to really get our thoughts and everything like that out there. But real quick, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with some more BrownsTown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion.
Hey, this is Brittany Griner from the Phoenix Mercury, and you listen to the 3-Point Conversion.
And we're back. We just got done covering some around the AFC North, talking about how all the AFC North games, everybody won. So good for them. It's preseason. We all know how much preseason matters from last year. But anyway, we are going to drop into talking a little bit about Corey Coleman. Of course, this is LA, and got my man Eric on the ones and twos as well. Powered by the 3-Point Conversion. Again, stop by the 3pointconversion.com where you can catch a lot of our work as well as the podcast. Follow some of the other great shows out there. We got our man Damian Adams from The Real Deal with Damian Adams dropping a fresh episode every week for you guys. We also had a 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge. That is our major pilot show down there in Atlanta on the radio, doing his thing, Mr. Controversy and D Intellectual, 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge. Catch that. They also have a Facebook Live on the actual Facebook 3-Point Conversion page. And also follow the Twitter handle of the 3-Point Conversion at 3PTCNVRSN. Now, Eric.
Yo.
You ready to tell me a little bit? Tell the people, tell me, what is your overall thoughts about Corey Coleman and how that went down?
You know, when it went down, the minute you told me that, I actually remember what I was doing when I got that text message from you. You told me, yo, something's going on. I check on the 3-Point Conversion. It's like, holy, But over the last few days, there were several things that were coming out about why it happened. I mean, for all we know, we were just sitting there just like watching baseball. You were probably doing something productive. I was doing something not productive. But some of the reasons that I remember coming out was about how he struggled. A lot of the stuff was starting to come out about how he's been acting like lazy, like not doing his fair share. And I think that got highlighted in this week's episode of Hard Knocks. And then all of a sudden, I just remember seeing something about how Corey might have been out late and kind of being a bad influence a bit. I don't know if there was any truth to that, but there was the speculation that he was out late the night before, how he might have been with a stripper or something else that's worse than that. But something definitely happened, and given the news with Callahan the day after, it was like, maybe there's something more with this whole thing. Maybe it's not just smoke.
Yeah. From what my thoughts of it was, and especially being able to have the pleasure of being able to go up to the training camp one day from the first week, it didn't look like Coleman was really blending well with the team. It didn't look like he was blending well with the coaches. And then more stuff started to come out. And these are the whispers. The Browns never really came out and said anything because they are keeping tight-lipped about certain situations. And when Hugh was at the presser and was being asked about Coleman, he just told everybody that he wished Coleman the best of luck. Didn't really want to talk about it anymore since he's not on the team, which I can respect that. But most of the stuff that I was hearing is that, like you said, he was kind of butting heads with the coaching staff. They were really weighing on him about his work ethic. Everybody was saying how much of a big year it was for him because, the last previous 2 seasons that he was on the team, significant injuries to his right hand, and they knew that he had some type of potential, but it just wasn't translating for us on the field the way that we wanted to see it. Now, he was traded away, in case you missed it, he was traded away to the Buffalo Bills for a Slim Jim and some soda, or no. It was a 7th-round draft pick, so nothing significant in 2020. So basically, it let us know and gave us the indicator that the Browns are just trying to download him. They have been shopping him around the league for the last couple of years, they were saying, and nobody was really biting on it. And there was even a rumor out there saying that they were probably going to just go ahead and release him anyway, which was crazy because he was slotted to start this game last night. So for whatever to happen behind the scenes, which I'm pretty sure we may see because I think Hard Knocks is going to talk about that in this next episode coming up, which is a great segue to what we're going to address next. But we will see a little bit more. I'm pretty sure it's going to leak out more. But initially, I wish him good luck. I do. But at the end of the day, he's not a Brown anymore.
That's exactly it. It's not for nothing. I give him credit in the couple of moments that he was on the field, and literally it was a couple moments. He actually had a couple good games. I can't say great because I don't think he ever broke 100 yards in Cleveland in one game. He could never stay on the field. I mean, he has the potential to be something good, but that work ethic has to change. And you know what? He's also got to stop trying to butt heads with play and with the coaches. I mean, he's a 20-something-year-old kid going against someone that's been to the playoffs several times in his career. It's not gonna work out in your favor, young man.
Yeah, you're right. And, I mean, to be honest with you, going up to the Bills, to me, the Bills is like that team that you kind of get one last shot. I mean, unless it's with the Patriots, because we're seeing the Patriots just pick up anybody and everybody as they had picked up Kenny Britt from us as well. But I kind of feel like that this team with the Bills, like if he doesn't do anything with them, then we might have seen the last of Corey Coleman, which is crazy enough because looking back at that draft just in general, or just any drafts that Sashi Brown had, we don't have any of those picks on the team anymore, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. And remember, this guy was drafted in the first round, I believe 15th overall. And just a very sad thing to see, but it's something that we are used to, unfortunately, in Cleveland. And like I said, best of luck to him. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, and always will be.
Right. So before we hop into this Hard Knocks real quick, because I know that this is going to be real juicy, I want to get your opinions on it. We're going to take a quick break to pay the bills, and we'll be right back with some more BrownsTown.
This is Leilani Mitchell from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion.
And we're back, BrownsTown with LA and my man Eric on the ones and twos. Just got done addressing the Corey Coleman situation. Talked a little bit about what was going around the AFC North. But, as I'm pretty sure we have all heard all the philosophies and all the analysis and breakdowns of everything, but of course you got to get what's on the mind of LA and Eric. Eric, I'm going to have you take the lead on this one. What did you feel about the first episode of HBO Hard Knocks?
Oh, I thought it was so good. But, I'll be honest with you. I have never seen the team in this light, to be honest. I mean, for once, it actually looked like people gave a dang. Hugh Jackson, that opening scene where you just see him going in the lake, that was perfect. I understand there were people complaining about, when's Hugh going to jump? When's Hugh going to jump? You don't think that maybe there was some kind of connection to this? It was genius. And you know what? I thought that it was brilliant with that. The whole family thing, it's heartbreaking when you see everything that happened to Hugh Jackson, but at the same time, I think it's given him almost like a renewal of faith almost to try to get back into the swing of things with his job. And you know what? I have never seen the players, minus one that's no longer here, this pumped up, this energized, this ready to go to work.
I agree to a certain standpoint. What you said about Hugh, that's cool. And I tweeted out before that, by the way, tweeting, you can follow me at LA_Broadus and Eric over at Stashball. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. You're good. You're good.
But I tweeted out and said that Hugh, yes, it was good to see him in that light. Those were genuine feelings. Yes, it was very tough. But as a fan tweeted to me and said that seeing Hugh as the man is greater than Hugh still as a head coach, and you can feel good about that. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that. Hugh, to me, comes off as a very cool, calm, collected guy, but what everybody picked up from that whole Hugh Jackson thing is that they said that he really still doesn't look like he knows what he's doing as far as being the head coach. And I don't know if you recall this or not, but there's a couple of times in Hard Knocks where he's like reminding people that I am the head coach, I am the man, we're going to do it my way or the highway kind of thing. You've seen a brief exchange between him and Todd Haley. You've seen a weird exchange between him and Baker Mayfield where, he was talking to Baker about how early he was going to wake up, what is his workout regimen, and how he was going to do it. And it seemed like Baker kind of was like, yeah, okay. You've seen a couple of different other times where I believe he was talking to, what was it, Demarius Randall?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and they were talking, and it seemed like, the two guys weren't paying attention to what was going on in the play, and Hugh kind of just was like, hey, guys, are you guys paying attention? What did he say? Well, what did he say? I mean, that kind of thing right there kind of jumped out to me where I'm like, you're like, if you have two parents in the household, everybody has that one serious parent that no matter what they say, I'm that guy, as far as that parent where if dad says something, everybody is at attention and they're listening and they're getting it done no matter what, and I only got to say it once. However, their mother, she has to say things 2, 3, 4, 5 times, maybe even do something crazy just to remind them that she's mom. And then she's like complaining because she's like, why do I have to go crazy in order to prove that I'm mom? And it's like, well, because you walk around screaming all the time, and at a certain point, people start to just, ignore it. They tune it out. When you're always talking and you're always trying to prove something, people start to tune that out. And to me, that's where it seems like Hugh Jackson is getting. It's like people have sympathy for him. We've seen them say, hey, coach, sorry for your loss. By the way, if you guys don't know by now, Hugh Jackson, over the course of this past month, he had lost his mother and his brother first, then his mother within the course of 2 weeks apart from each other. So for anybody, that would be crippling. I mean, would probably take them out, depending on how you handle grief and, death and everything like that. But that's a hard thing to put on any person.
Honestly, one of my favorite scenes personally was when they had Dorsey and I think it was Haslam and somebody else just come into Hugh's office and then just have that group hug like right after.
Oh, the man hug. Yeah, the man hug.
If you weren't near tears at that point, you're inhuman.
Absolutely. No, look. I watched it twice. I watched the episode twice. Mm-hmm. I may even catch it again, after we get done with this show, just to kind of have something, going. And then, of course, I want to catch the replay of the game as well, to kind of dive deep in and analyze a little bit more. But, yeah, overall, the Hard Knocks episode was really, really good. I had no problems with it. But I did want to kind of get your opinions and everything from my standpoint as far as what I just said. Like, did you feel any kind of weirdness or any kind of weird exchange, or did you feel like Hugh was trying too much when it came to the football aspect of it?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, it just seems like at the same time, he really hasn't been doing that over the past few years. I mean, he's been the head coach, but I don't know, like, maybe it's just me, but it seems like there was something missing with that. Like, he didn't have that kind of control, if that makes sense. I mean, keep in mind, last year and the year before, it seemed like it was the Sashi Brown show, and, well, it seemed like, for lack of a better word, maybe you'll remember this, when Ray Farmer was telling, I think it was Mike Pettin, which quarterback to play. It almost felt like that, because I don't think he actually wanted to start Kaiser last year. And what it sounded like he wanted Watson initially. They didn't get him. It sounded like he wanted to stick with either Kessler or Osweiler, but it seemed like something swayed him at that moment.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. and that's a great point. He does seem a lot more, I want to say, relieved, I guess, that Dorsey is kind of, like you said, Dorsey's he's running the football operations. Like, he's out there on the field, he's walking around, he's looking at stuff. But you don't see Dorsey saying things to him like, hey, I think this guy should do this, or, anything compared to what's going on in the field. He's allowing Hugh to coach. He's allowing Haley to be the offensive coordinator. Seems like everybody has their role, and they're playing it to the T right now. Again, we're talking about a TV show, so it is created to not always do the kumbayas and the hand-holding, but we are going to have some kind of controversy. That's why I've seen it, but I'm not really looking into that because those are different things, especially like the Hugh, Todd Haley, feud over players resting, players not resting. Stuff like that we're told happens all the time, but because we never had an inside look on the Browns the way we have it this year, people are acting all up in arms about it, and I'm like, guys, relax. It's a freaking TV show.
I mean, people are going to take it all over the place anyways, but honestly, one of the best interviews that I did hear was on a different medium, was with former Browns coach Sam Ratigliano. If that's a name that some may not know, this was a guy that said Hugh shouldn't have been offensive coordinator, and this is exactly why. I mean, you need that spark in the locker room. Like, you need that conflict, if you will. I mean, you can't avoid something like that. You need to have the different positions to do that, and we saw that it didn't really work out in Oakland. We saw that it didn't work out the past 2 years here, so you know what? If this is the push that it's going to take for Hugh, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Now, real quickly before we transition, well, actually, this Hard Knocks thing is pretty juicy. So I wanted to get your opinion about what was your moment in this Hard Knocks episode. Besides the Hugh Jackson stuff, what was Eric's moment? Like, what did you pick out of this episode that really just jumped out to you? Whether it was something that you expected or whether it was something that was just like a huge surprise, like, wow. What was that moment for you?
It has to be, a lot of people were talking about the Landry moment of leadership, but there was another moment of leadership that people were laughing at, but I thought it was actually a pretty underrated moment. Ryan Nassib, with the whole money thing, to be honest. I was not expecting that at all. When it happened, it was like, maybe there's more to this kid than we have been giving him credit for. I mean, obviously it was followed up by the Taylor Swift thing afterwards, but that's going to happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure if any of us had the chance to get a picture with Taylor Swift, I'm sure even you would probably do it. But at the same time, it was something that was refreshing to see because one of the big knocks on the team last year was there was a lack of leadership. It seems like this guy really had like some leadership qualities on defense and was starting in the locker room with the whole money talk. I mean, maybe it didn't work out so much just because of all the F-bombs and all that, but I thought it was pretty effective.
That is a great point. The whole financial segment was hilarious to me, but it even got me thinking about my personal life. I was like, man, well, how much money can I scrape together and have something going on interest-wise? So, I mean, it definitely made you think, and that's a great moment. That was really a great moment for me as well. I think my moment would probably be, and I can't remember off the top of my head, I can't remember who was talking about it, exactly the player's name. Maybe you can help me out with that, but the Find Your Why segment.
Oh, that was Kirksey.
Yeah, Kirksey, that's right. Yeah, man. So Kirksey going up and telling everybody to find your why, whether it's and the thing about it is that I've heard that before in training in my jobs and stuff like that, the find your why. But it was more so the way that he put it to them, and he was just really real about it. He was like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, some people are going to be here because they love football. Some people are going to be here for their family. Some people are going to be here because they want to make money. I don't care why you're here. Just figure out why you're here, write it down, be able to see it every day so that you can keep grinding and pushing towards that better goal. Because because a lot of times, don't we bash players? We say, oh, they're only here to collect a check, whatever. But at the end of the day, especially with me, I've been a manager in pretty much all my professional life. Like, as far as any job, I've been a manager. And finding that employee's why is so important, because I'm not going to doubt you if money motivates you. Money can be a great motivating factor. But we a lot of times analyze and we break down these athletes and we say, oh, they're there to pay a check or to collect a check. Yeah, okay. But the thing is that it's about the fact of collecting the check. Okay, so does that mean that they're set because they signed that big contract and they're good? Or are they grinding to get even a better paycheck, or to make sure, because as we know in the NFL, it's not guaranteed with the contract. So if money is their motivating factor, yeah, you might have signed that big contract, but it's not guaranteed. So you have to keep grinding to be able to hit those performance bonuses, all those incentives that are wrapped up in that contract language. So you can still be motivated by money even after you got paid that big money. You can still be motivated. So I don't honestly see, and it kind of opened up my eyes a little bit more when he was talking about it, that it's not always fair to judge a player off the fact that he wants money. It's just about the way he approaches the situation about money.
That's exactly it. I mean, in any case, it was great to see. It's starting to look like Kirksey is going to fall into a leadership spot. Nassib, even though he's going to be in a rotation, is taking up some leadership spots. And it's especially big because someone that just seems way too quiet is our number one draft pick from last year, Myles Garrett. So if someone's picking up the slack for the leadership, good. I mean, really, it's something that we need.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily agree with the fact that Myles isn't leading. A lot of people said this about Myles, and they also said it about Denzel Ward, is that these guys are those quiet people, and they come and they work, and their work translates to, oh, crap, man, this guy's over here grinding hard. I need to, too. So there's different ways to lead a team, whether it is that strong, silent type, or whether it's going to be the vocal guy. Because even with the vocal guy, if it's not coming across genuine, you can lose a lot of people. They can say, oh, they're just talking, they're just blabbing, whatever, and tune it out, compared to that guy that doesn't say anything, but you know that he's out there wrecking it on the field and just absolutely showing up every day in practice. And maybe that's the approach that I think Myles is taking. Now, again, we have several episodes of Hard Knocks that will be coming throughout the month of August, and I believe the last episode is at the beginning of September. So make sure that you keep it locked on HBO Hard Knocks. I've seen it on a lot of different platforms. I downloaded the HBO Go app and got the free trial. So wink, wink, that's a little plug for you guys if you are looking to see it. I know it was uploaded, the first episode was uploaded on YouTube as well. So it looks like they're making it very accessible for everybody out there. So there's no excuse why you're not checking out the Browns Hard Knocks.
Unless you're really not a Browns fan, of course.
Yeah, but even with that,
I know.
I might go back and watch. some of the older ones, because this is some great looks. So I don't know, but check it out. HBO Hard Knocks with the Browns is looking very lovely. We're going to go take a break and pay the bills, but we will be right back to jump into some juicy Antonio Callaway news and continue to keep dropping the jokes for you guys. This is BrownsTown with LA and Eric, powered by the 3-Point Conversion.
Hey, I'm Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion Radio.
And we are back. LA and Eric with BrownsTown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion again. If you were looking for the podcast, well, you're probably listening to it, so you already found it. But you can find us on Spreaker.com. You can also find us on our Twitter, at BrownsTown USA, on the 3-Point Conversion website, the 3pointconversion.com, Facebook, the 3-Point Conversion. We also have a great group that Eric came up with. Eric, can you break down real quick before we jump into the next topic about the BrownsTown Facebook group?
Oh, Lord have mercy. I have seen the light, and it was when we started the BrownsTown Facebook group. You see, we started doing it because some of the groups were very too much negative, if you will. We were too busy bashing about how we would never learn, and yet we had no idea what we were doing. But the minute that it started, we started getting more and more influential, and we have recently broken 500 people. If we can get 500 more, then, oh man, that would be great. But in all honesty and all sincerity, if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely check it out. It's a great place if you want to be a Browns fan, not a BrownsTown fan, but if you're a BrownsTown fan, it's a great place to be. If you want to be a Browns fan, discuss, not bash the Browns too harsh. I mean, we've seen some people going after them already, but you know what? That's just how we are. It's just how we be. We can go ahead and just criticize, just as long as it's constructive. It's a Browns group for the Browns fan, by the Browns fan, with mostly Browns fans. Okay, all Browns fans.
Absolutely. Can I get an amen? I mean, you just preached it, you broke it down. But, yes, BrownsTown Facebook group, very, very good platform to be able to come out there and voice your opinion. Again, like, we're not in there to just be negative all the time. We talk positive. We do talk negative. It is okay to be able to criticize your team if you don't like a move, a situation happening or popping up, wink, wink. We can talk about it. And that situation that unfortunately popped up for us this past week was around our rookie, not Wookie. We don't do that. Rookie, wide receiver, Antonio Callaway. We drafted this guy in the 4th round. There were a lot of red flags around him out of the University of Florida. Basically, the label surrounding Antonio Callaway, Eric, if you agree, very talented guy, a lot of red flags. He was involved in some credit card scamming, a sexual assault he was cleared of. I mean, there was just a lot of things, a diluted sample coming into the NFL Combine, which, by the way, if you don't know what diluted sample is when they go to drug test, you take a pee sample, and there's too much water in it, and a lot of times it's looked at because it throws off the testing, so you won't know if he was on something at the time. But basically, he had a diluted sample, so he is currently in stage 1 of the substance abuse program by the NFL, which basically means that if anything pops up, he will move on to the next stage, which is stage 2, and he is subject to being suspended by the NFL for, I believe, 4 games, up to 4 games. And it's just not a good program to be in. Did I miss anything, Eric?
No, I think you hit everything on the head. But if I may jump in on this one, the whole situation was weird just because the minute the news broke, I'm pretty sure you heard a collective groan, not just from BrownsTown, but from every Facebook group that the Cleveland Browns fans follow. So you just hear from like at least 1,000 different voices. But it got weirder during the week. I mean,
absolutely. And if you want to really read up on it, I had the pleasure of being able to put out an article about it on the 3pointconversion.com. Just look it up. It's right there, smack dab. But as Eric is alluding to, the situation was that the Browns had a day off from practice, and Hugh, crazy enough, had a conversation with everybody saying, hey, it's your first day off. Don't do anything stupid. Wink, wink. Just go out there and have fun if you want to, but make sure you get home in bed at a good time, and we will see you the next day. Unfortunately, Callaway didn't take that advice. He was out driving at about 2, 3 in the morning. Got pulled over for being for having a suspended license. In the process of it, he was cited for marijuana possession, which is it was a very small amount, which in Ohio it would fall under basically being lower than even getting a speeding ticket. It was pretty insignificant, but of course you don't want to see being in a substance abuse program connected with any kind of weed, whether it's a little bit or a lot. And later on, reports surfaced that was reported by TMZ from the police dash cam that he was. They also found a handle of a firearm, just a handle, not the gun, but a handle of a firearm, and also some ammunition in the car as well. Now, Antonio said that it's his car, but it was just recently shipped from Florida. He just got it. So he had basically friends borrowing it and kind of driving around his car. And so he's kind of, just denying plausible deniability, saying he didn't know. But then another report came out last night, Eric, that we tweeted out as well, that the lawyer filed a motion to the court because his license is actually valid in the state of Florida, so he wouldn't have known that it was suspended. But it looks like it's starting to clear up. Remember when we first got the news, we both did a collective groan as well. But, again, being who we are, we don't just rush on there and start bashing. We like to, gather the facts to make sure that everything kind of clears up because it was also new at the time. Mm-hmm. But besides just the allegations, Eric, that was put out and the reports that were put out, overall, how do you feel this was handled by Callaway? Was there anything that you felt like he should have done differently? Do you think that, it looked like the team was kind of surprised by it? I mean, kind of talk about that a little bit more.
I mean, honestly, that's my biggest thing. I mean, if he was to get suspended, it's not because of the weed. The weed's insignificant at this point. I mean, just the fact that Callaway seemingly didn't talk to the coach and tried to cover it up is really what bothered me, just because when you get to that level, you have to be an adult at some point. I mean, we've already seen what happens when you draft a kid. We all know who I'm talking about here. But the fact of the matter is, when you
Josh Gordon,
Johnny Manziel, when you draft a kid, then you've got to realize, one, you got to grow up, and that was the biggest problem with Gordon, with Manziel. Gordon's starting to grow up more and more, which is finally good to hear. It cost him about maybe 3 years of him playing, but you know what? Better late than pregnant, I always say. But the fact of the matter is, when you get down to it, Callaway,
that's
I think...
a good saying.
Yeah,
that's a good saying.
Exactly. Callaway should have at least told Hugh what happened, because, let's be honest, one of the biggest quotes that I heard all day and the news broke on Tuesday, I believe it was,
yes.
When one of the biggest things I heard was no tolerance policy. No tolerance policy. Several Facebook groups cut his ass right now. That's all you heard, just because of what happened and what we've got in the locker room right now. Even some people were thinking, I wonder if this has any connection with Coleman at all, because chances are we already know what happened last year and the influences that Coleman had. Wink, wink, Kenny Brett. But the fact of the matter is, he needs to grow up and learn that if he comes out and gets all the penalties out of the way early, just gets it over with, you're going to be a lot better than when when someone finds out that you were lying, that you were trying to cover it up because they thought you were smooth. But that's really my one complaint about the whole thing.
Gotcha, and that is a very good point. Kind of being the devil's advocate on this one, I heard an opinion saying that he necessarily didn't say anything because if you look at the dash cam video, and if you guys are looking for it, it is on TMZ.com, TMZ Sports. But on the dash cam, the police officer that pulled him over, he was very friendly, saying, hey, man, I'm a big Browns fan, joking around with him and stuff. And he had basically let Callaway know, like, hey, you're in Ohio. This is not really that big of a deal. Just get everything kind of situated with the suspended license thing. And, you pay the fine, you're good to go. So from that aspect of it, could it be possible that Callaway was like, well, you know what? I've gotten in trouble before. I really don't want to cause a stir. He said it's really not that big of a deal, so I'm going to just go ahead and take care of it. I mean, I kind of see that, but at the end of the day, too, you can argue that, hey, if you are in trouble or there's stuff like this that follows you around, at least give somebody a heads up, because it's always better to be very forthcoming with it, to let everybody know everything that's going on so that they can say, this isn't that big of a deal, we will get it handled, or maybe this is a bigger of a deal than what you're treating it, but hey, look, you let us know, so we're still going to get through it, instead of, like you said, not saying anything about it at all. because nobody wants to be shocked and surprised by it, especially with the kind of reputation that he has. It looks so much worse just because of the reputation that he has. Now, if this guy came in and he didn't have this reputation, no red flags, and then this happened, yeah, I'm sure that we've still grown a little bit because we always grown anytime anything negative happens with the Browns. It's just our nature. But we would be like, okay, not too big of a deal, right? No biggie. But because of what he brings with him and the baggage that he brings with him, it just looks so much worse from the optics level, from the PR standpoint. So I definitely agree with your points. And like I said, there's also something else to be had on the other end. But speaking of wide receivers that come with baggage, we've seen Jarvis Landry advocate and push for us to sign a certain wide receiver. And, Eric, it looks like it might actually happen now.
I hate to say it. I think X is going to give it to us, man.
If you don't know who we're talking about, we are talking about Dez Bryant, former Cowboys wide receiver, prima donna diva, whatever you want to say about him, but he did produce while he was on the field. Last season, he had about 850 yards or more last season, 8 touchdowns on the field. But a lot of people said that he can't separate from, his man anymore. I'm still on the fence about that. I would love to get him into the training camp, see what he has. It's not going to hurt. We're losing wide receivers by the day, not technically, but kind of technically with the Coleman trade, and we can definitely stand to get some more help or some more bodies in at the wide receiver position. Eric, how do you feel about bringing Dez Bryant in?
Well, I'll be honest. As you said, it couldn't hurt. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you can get him cheap enough, if you can give him some playing time, he could be a good match. I mean, I believe him and Jarvis have been good friends for a while. I mean. And honestly, I had never seen somebody pay as much attention as he did last night. I mean, I was at work last night, and every time something happened, I'm checking Twitter just because I have the Browns game on the radio. I just see all of a sudden, oh, Dez is tweeting. Okay, this should be good. And he's like, I see you, Cleveland. Oh, look at that, Jarvis. Baker, I got you. It's like, this guy wants to be a Brown. I mean, he keeps saying, I don't know if I have that much interest. I don't have that much interest. It looks like he's been paying some attention. I think somebody brought this up in one of the groups. Maybe he was just saying that just so he could scout what the Browns were about. I mean, everybody knows how we like to audition players. Maybe he was just auditioning us this time.
Very true. And that's one tweet that I did see yesterday that was very intriguing, is that there were reports surfacing that pretty much the Dez Bryant talks were dead. It wasn't going to happen. Dez looked like he was uninterested and was going to look elsewhere. We knew Jarvis was really, really pushing for it. Jarvis, every other chance he could get, he would tweet at Dez and say, hey, bro, need you in the camp. What's up? And the reports that came out is basically, and I believe I've seen a quote from Dorsey saying that, yeah, we wouldn't mind bringing Dez in, but he hasn't returned our phone calls. So it is what it is. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Dez tweets and says, starting my visits next week. I'm coming to the land to see you, Mr. Dorsey.
I mean, if you remember, this is exactly how not Brian Kendrick. This is exactly how Michael Kendrick started, if you remember.
Yes, and that was very intriguing too, because to be honest with you, and not to veer off, I did not think that Kendrick should end up here. I'm sorry, I didn't. The caliber of this guy is absolutely amazing to see on the field. He's a great addition, but it is how it started, and I'm excited. I'm going to try to get up there to training camp this week to try to see what I can get. I believe I have tickets on the 13th, so I will definitely be back in Berea to check it out. But yeah, this will be exciting just to add more buzz, especially with Hard Knocks. Of course, I know Hard Knocks is just salivating at the chance to be able to get Dez Bryant on camera for this, so this will help them out. It'll help out the city of Cleveland even to give us even more buzz. But again, as analysts that we are, what do you think that Dez will bring to, on the field for us? Like, where do you see him being slotted at? I mean, what do you see translating from this?
Well, before I give that point, the Cleveland Browns are tweeting, my friend. John Dorsey recently just said that he's confident that Antonio Callaway understands the Browns' expectations. So you have a little vote of confidence right there. So, anyways, back to the question that you just asked. What do I expect if the Browns do sign Dez? What I do expect is I'm not expecting someone that's gonna break the big one, if you will. I'm not expecting like 30 to 50-yard gains from this guy. I mean, that's just not the type of receiver he is. You were talking about how how people find him to be the guy that doesn't break away from his receiver and from his corners. That's cool. What he is, though, is a red zone threat receiver. Like, he's the guy that you could trust in the red zone. He'll catch the ball, and he'll get that 20 yards for you. The best way to put it, who was the guy that had 2 touchdowns last night? Can you name it for me off the top of your head?
Chief.
Yup.
David Njoku.
David Njoku. That's exactly what David Njoku is. And you know what? If you have a red zone threat like that, you have something really special. I mean, the fact is, Landry's going to go ahead and get you at least 100 yards a game. Gordon can get you 100 yards a game. As we saw last night, Callaway can get you 100 yards when he's on the field. You don't have anybody that can necessarily score when you're that close, though. When you get to the 20-yard line, it's a whole different feel. So having that red zone threat is important. If you have someone like a Dez Bryant, who, as you said, 8 touchdowns is nothing to snicker at. And that was with a quarterback that he was not used to. So go ahead. If you think that he can get you all those touchdowns, make it up, he would be perfect to have in that 1st and goal or 3rd and 10 at the 20-yard line situation.
You know what, and I agree, and that's a very good point. That yes, Dez, regardless if he's actually going to do anything on the field, just having that name on the back of that jersey, people are going to respect him based off of just his name. So even if he is out there and he's not doing much, which I can't see happening because Tyrod just seems like the quarterback that will get that receiver in the position that he needs to get into in order to be successful. So with having Dez out there, taking attention away from Jarvis, you see Jarvis gets open, and if we don't get another wide receiver of Dez's caliber that can be out there, people are going to double down on Jarvis, which will open up opportunities for, Njoku and for Callaway and maybe Rashard Higgins. But if we have Dez out there now, I mean, it's really to the point where it's like pick your poison. And I didn't mention Josh Gordon just for the fact that I still don't know what's going on with him. We see him posting workout videos. He's still in shape, so we're not worried about that. But we just really need to see him rejoin the team before I even give him the time of day to analyze what he's going to do on the field for us, because that is just something that I haven't been used to over these past couple of years, man. So I agree with you. Having Dez out there will help. Again, I think with him being good buddies with Jarvis and the way that Jarvis works and his mentality, the baggage that everybody keeps talking about Dez will bring in, I feel that with him being with his buddy Jarvis, that will actually go down to a minimum. Dez is joining Jarvis's team, not Jarvis joining Dez's team. So when that happens, as far as 2 alpha males, a lot of times the other alpha will kind of just, follow behind and get in line. And I think that this is probably one of the perfect situations in order for this to happen for Dez, for the Cleveland Browns, for the fans.
Exactly. I mean, especially considering that these were also the same fans that wanted Odell Beckham Jr. to come to the team, which I wouldn't mind him coming to Cleveland, but at the same time, Dez did some stupid stuff, but that was almost exclusively off the field. It wasn't like he was punching a net and then proposing to a net and doing all that. It wasn't like it was the infamous boat picture that we saw. The fact of the matter is, I think Dez isn't wouldn't be the worst. It wouldn't be as bad as, say, bringing in a Terrell Owen.
Correct. Yeah. And like you said again, like if there's a way to bring a star in, Odell Beckham, that's cool. But at the end of the day, Odell Beckham's star potential he's actually one of those guys out there that could come into the team and actually shine brighter than Jarvis, which can be a problem. But with Dez, yes, he's a star, but his star isn't as big as Jarvis's, especially how Jarvis has come in, being a big-name receiver, producing on the field, then signing a long-term deal and basically letting us as Cleveland fans and just everybody in the city of Cleveland in general and the league, letting them know, hey, I'm planting my roots here. You've seen it on Hard Knocks. Hey, we don't go out that much. We are homebodies. We stay in. I'm here to grind. I'm committed to the city of Cleveland. That's the kind of guy that we've been waiting for so long, especially from the wide receiver position, because we haven't had that at the wide receiver position in a long time.
Wait, you're telling me you're telling me Muhammad Massaquoi wasn't that type of guy? You're telling me that Devon Best wasn't that? You're sitting here.
I'm sorry, who?
Devon Best.
Sorry, who?
You're not. You're telling me that Dante Stallworth, when he's not running people over, wasn't that?
I'm sorry, I don't recall. I don't recall those names. But look, Eric, we got to pay the bills to keep the lights on, man. So we will be right back to wrap up the show and talk about Cleveland Browns' first preseason win. We'll be right back.
This is Leilani Mitchell from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion.
And we're back. BrownsTown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. I'm your man, L.A. Broadus, joined here by my man, Eric, and we have been chopping it up. This has been an action-packed show. We addressed Hard Knocks. We talked about Corey Coleman trade. We talked about the Antonio Callaway situation. We talked about what was going on around the AFC North as far as their wins. Didn't dive too much about analyzing the teams yet, but I'm sure we'll get into that the closer we get to the regular season. But, Eric, I don't know if you know or not, there was a game last night.
Honestly, I didn't know it was a game. I thought it was a fight.
Really? Interesting. Elaborate.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people, and living in a New York market, because I'm in Connecticut, you're obviously in Akron. Living in the New York market, we don't get like the Cleveland sports radios. We get the New York stations, and all I heard yesterday was, oh, the Giants should be able to beat the Browns easily. If you can't beat the Browns, there's a problem. It's like, really? So, seeing Baker come out, get those 2 touchdowns, seeing Tyrod come out, get those 2 touchdowns, even seeing Roback come out and do pretty well, it was just like a big middle finger to the Giants fans that were talking all the smack, but it was a lot closer than it probably should have been. I mean, 10 points is still pretty good, but considering the talent we added, it probably should have been bigger. It didn't help with all the stupid penalties, though, yesterday.
Okay, and that's what I was going to get into with you. I was going to ask you, so if you can give me real quick, what was your good, bad, and ugly?
All right, the good. I'll be honest with you, Callaway was the good. I mean, as much as people are talking about how great Baker looked, a lot of those passes were to Callaway. A lot of people.
Callaway had real quick. Callaway had 3 receptions for 87 yards and 1 touchdown, highlighted by his what was it? It was a 54-yard pass from Baker Mayfield.
But he had that, and he got the. I'll be honest, he had the tiptoe catch that would probably make San Antonio Holmes go like, "Damn!"
San Antonio Holmes.
Right after he gets done hitting that blunt, but that was the good in my mind. The bad,
okay.
The bad, and I'll be honest with you, I got to put it on the run offense, to be honest. I mean, I'll be honest,
Okay.
I couldn't tell if it was just that the Giants were clogging holes or the offensive line just couldn't get any holes open, but you could tell that Chubb wanted to run. He was just, he kept pacing, he kept doing what he needed to do, and in time it will come, but the fact of the matter was Hyde couldn't get anything done, Chubb couldn't get anything done, Days couldn't get anything done, Duke in the one handoff I think he had did all right, but he was more for just using the pass, so I got to put the the run block on notice for the bad here.
Okay.
And the ugly, the penalties. My goodness. The Jarvis Landry taunting. Denzel Ward's hit that cost us a 4th down. There were so many bad penalties in the game that it's going to need to be tightened up a bit. I have a feeling that when they come back to camp, you're going to see Todd Haley mad. You're going to see Greg Williams chew somebody out. Let me quote the 3-6 Mafia. Someone's going to get their ass kicked here, and you know that it's coming.
Okay. That was definitely a great breakdown of good, bad, and ugly. And I think I like that, man. I think when we address these games, we'll probably just keep it at that, man, the good, bad, and ugly. It has a certain ring to it.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of, piggybacking off of what you said, the good for me would have definitely been from the quarterback position. We were able to move the ball down the field via pass. Just quoting off some stats real quick, Baker Mayfield was 11 for 20, 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyrod Taylor was perfect at 5 for 5 with 99 yards and 1 touchdown. And then, even Rollback came in and tossed a few, 2 for 4, 22 yards. As far as receiving-wise, Callaway led it with 3 receptions, 87 yards and a touchdown. Hollywood Higgins, Richard, had 4 receptions, 66 yards. And then, of course, I had to mention David Njoku. He had 2 receptions, but those 2 receptions wielded 2 touchdowns and for 46 yards. So my good would definitely be in the passing game. We were able to definitely move the ball through the air, which is something I'm not surprised about due to the fact that Haley, working with Ben Roethlisberger, we've seen over with the Steelers that they were definitely very pass-heavy, and they could move the ball through the air. Now, as you said with the running game, we had nobody was existent from the running game. Nick Chubb led with the most attempts at trying to rush, but he was only able to rush for 11 yards, which is just atrocious. 15 attempts on 11 yards. Matt Days, 3 attempts, 13 yards. Baker got in there a little bit, too, with 3 attempts for 13 yards. Mentioning some of our other big-name running backs, Njoku, he only had Johnson. Duke Johnson only had 1 attempt for 3 yards, and Carlos Hyde had 1 attempt for a -1 yard. So they were not able to get anything going on the ground whatsoever, which I think will be better. It attests to the line. I was seeing some recaps and breakdowns last night as I was driving home, and a lot of people were saying that they were actually shocked and surprised by how good our line did when it came to the pass blocking and assignments there, instead of being good on the run side, which in a lot of cases, when you're putting together an offensive line like that, a lot of times the run will be a little bit easier than the passing because of all the assignments and stuff like that. So it actually was a blessing in disguise to see us be able to see the line be able to pick up and pass and get the air game going. But, of course, we'll see this week in training camp that they will emphasize getting the run game going. We're just way too talented from that running back position to not do anything at all. Now, addressing your ugly with the penalties, absolutely. I mean, just terrible. I believe I'm going to get the numbers here really quickly, but our penalties wielded over, yep, there it is. We had 13 penalties for over 141 yards. 141 yards. That is huge.
You can't do that. I mean, I understand that's a young team, but I just remember just seeing and hearing the Denzel Ward hit. It's like, oh no, here we go again. Because we saw this with, I believe it was Taylor last year, where we kept seeing penalty after penalty. Then you add to the Jarvis Landry getting in, I think it was Janoris Jenkins' face. It's like, Jarvis, you're a professional. Leave it alone. And then probably the one penalty that I nearly tore hair out over was the Myles Garrett offsides. I mean, offsides happen. I get that. He was going against Nate Soldier, Nate Soldier is a great left tackle. He's a great tackle. He's probably one of the best in the league, but you don't have Tom Brady, who's a master of this. You don't have Aaron Rodgers, who's the king of this. You have Eli Manning. What are you doing? It's Eli freaking Manning. You have the second best Manning brother on the field.
I get it. I definitely do. And like I said, the penalties was definitely ugly. It jumped out to me that was definitely going to be the ugly for me no matter what you said. But, yeah, we have to get that in order. I'm not going to be so hard on Denzel Ward right now. He's a rookie. It was his first game. And being able, and I tweeted this too with all the rule changes and stuff, being able to play defense in this day and age in the NFL is extremely difficult because of all these new rules and how they're trying to implement, and now everything is pretty much going to two-hand touch. So I'm not going to really weigh on this. Now, if this becomes a pattern, which I don't see because Denzel Ward is extremely smart, everything I've heard from him from camp and stuff like that is nothing but positive reviews. I believe that he will get this in order. Jarvis Landry, I get it, but the standpoint I'm looking at it from is the fact that we are creating an identity for the Browns. Everybody laughs at us. As you said earlier and alluded to, New York was saying, this is the Browns, so we should beat them. There's no problem here. We've been looked at as a joke. 1-31. We have to, and if it comes in a meaningless preseason game to get into somebody's face to let them know that, hey, look, we are here to ball out, I am fine with them doing that and creating this identity during the preseason. Now, if this was the regular season and this was something that cost us the game, absolutely, I'm torching you. We have problems. But this is a preseason game. Jarvis is setting the tone for the team. I love it. We're the dog pound. We are dogs. So I need us to come out there and act like we're some dogs on the field. Of course, we want to be smart about it, but at the end of the day, I'm not mad about it. Now, Eric, before we wrap up this show, because I know that we can go on and talk about Browns for hours, but I'm not sure people will sit there and listen to us for hours. So tell me one thing that you have learned overall, because we've had so much go on within this past week. Tell me one thing that you have learned about this Browns team.
I have learned that right now the Browns have that fire that I think a lot of fans were missing. I mean, one of the things last year was it didn't look like they had, like, at least on the offensive side, the fire. I mean, yes, we had enough fire to not give up in games, but to not give up and to have something like this are two totally different things. I mean, last year we didn't have Jarvis Landry giving these speeches right on the right in the locker room. I don't think we had Carl Nassib going out and giving these financial advice. Honestly, last year, Carl Nassib was just fighting for a job at this point. He was fighting not to get fired. I mean, you know what? I don't think we've seen Hugh Jackson as motivated as he is right now. I mean, this is a different feel to the Browns, and really I think just seeing what happened last night, I mean, it's preseason. We know that we went through this last year, but even last year, you didn't see players playing to this level last year. I mean, last year we saw no quarterback, essentially. I mean, we saw Brock Osweiler looking like the best quarterback, but we cut him because of that $17 million budget reason. We saw that we had a running back that probably wanted to put up big numbers, but he was more focused about his paycheck than he was actually performing on the field and getting more carries. We just were missing something last year. I think Cleveland's found it, and we could be a year away from the playoffs. I'm not going to say it's this year. I know a lot of Browns fans are saying that. Give it time. Let this motivation sink in. Hugh Jackson had the line, that winning starts here, winning starts today. If he said that last year, I would have probably just started cracking up. He said it this year, I fully believed it.
Got you. That's a great point, and I'm glad that you learned that about the team. I have to echo those sentiments. I'm mostly looking at the offense because our defense was there last year, and it was able to keep us in a lot of games, but we just couldn't put points on the board. So I'm looking for us to put points on the board. Haley is here for a reason. He's used to putting points on the board, and I want him to do that for this Browns team. So, Eric, we have successfully wrapped up another show without anybody getting significantly hurt. Kittens were saved. Puppies were kissed on the forehead.
Actually, to be fair, that happened because one of the salespeople here at the studio came in and actually has her dog here. So all of a sudden, I had to turn the mic off for a second, but it just jumped right on my lap, and I was like, hey, he was a good boy. So gave him a little kiss. So puppies actually were kissed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm your man, LA Broadus. Like I said, you can follow me on Twitter at LA_Broadus on Twitter, Instagram, and all your major social media outlets. My man joined with me. That was on the ones and twos. Eric, follow him on Twitter at Stoshball. I am Stoshball on Instagram and all your major social media outlets. BrownsTown, catch us on SpeakerRadio.com. Powered by the 3-Point Conversion, 3pointconversion.com.
Hey, I'm Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion Radio.
That's it.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week. I believe I might be running that one solo, is it?
You will be. I'll be
labor.
Yes, sir. I'll be too busy drinking, playing the slots, and who knows? Maybe I'll call in a little inebriated. We'll see.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Join me next week where we'll be diving in. We'll have another preseason game in the wraps, another episode of Hard Knocks, and hopefully some transaction news for you guys. But in the meantime, we will keep you guys updated. Like I said, follow the show on Twitter at BrownsTown USA. We tweet out everything Browns. So we got your back and got you covered for every little detail of this amazing Cleveland Browns team. Until next time, I'm LA Broadus. I got my man Eric, and we will see you guys next week. Go Browns!